What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate agents, and just straight top badasses that dominate their space. In today's interview, you guys, got somebody that I'm really excited to share this interview with you guys with. This lady brings a lot of just amazing, powerful, impactful information. She's got awesome energy. She's an uber successful real estate agent out of North Carolina. She's a speaker. She's a coach. She speaks on at big conferences on panels like Inman, for example, on technology and on systems. And she's extremely intelligent. She knows her stuff. She's amazing at staying ahead of the curve. So really stoked to be sharing this interview with you guys with my good friend Lisa Archer. But before we dive in, got a couple big favors to ask you guys first. Number one, I have a massive 2016 goal, or maybe it's past 2016, you're watching this, whatever it is, my goal is always growth. We just found out we did about 5 million minutes watched on our YouTube channel alone. That's not counting iTunes and Stitcher on the podcast in 2015. I want to get to the point where we're doing that on a month before the end of 2016. It's all doable, but I need your help, right? Share these, watch these, share these with your friends, with other people in your office, whoever you feel will benefit, please share. That's how you can give back to me, give back to the podcast for everything that we do here. That ensures that we're able to keep growing the podcast and keep offering this for free, which is something I always want you to do. But I got to have some growth, baby. So please share, comment. If you have any questions, if you want to leave some positive comments, comment, you guys. Especially if you're on the YouTube channel, I'm on there. I've responded to those comments directly. If you're on iTunes or Stitcher, please give us a 5-star rating. On there, leave some positive comments. We greatly appreciate that. So real quick before we jump into this interview, last thing, I got to plug our sponsors that make all this possible. www.perfectstormnow.com, front-end lead generation, effective, badass real estate website software, right? I had one of our customers today post or sent me a message just saying, hey man, I was able to cancel my Zillow account at $400 a month and in my Realtor.com at like $200 a month. So I'm saving $600 a month. And for $99 a month, I'm generating 10 times the amount of leads essentially in that same amount of time, plus saving $600 a month. So, or $500 a month. So it's massive. So go check that out. If you don't have an effective online solution, we are the solution for the real estate space, period. If you're ready to take your real estate business, if you're a real estate agent, you're ready to take your business, or you're a broker owner, maybe you want to be able to advance the level of value and the level of training that you're able to give to your agents within your office, check out our 90-day mastery bootcamp. Next one starts February 15th. We do them about every 2 months. You can learn more at www.90daymastery.com. All right, with that being said, let's jump on into the interview. See you guys there. What is up, my friends? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview, where we interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate agents, and just straight up top badasses that are out there dominating their space, that are choosing to go out there and create big lives, right? Not live life of mediocrity, but choosing to go out there and create epic lives and do big things while they exist. So today, really excited to have our guest on the show. This has been, a friend of mine, somebody I've been following for a lot of years. Uber successful real estate agent, coach, speaker. She's involved in a lot of different things. So with that being said, you guys really honored and stoked to have Lisa Archer on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, dear. How are you?
Doing amazing. How about yourself?
It's been great. I'm having a really good year and having a lot of fun and super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, me as well. So before we get into what you're doing today, because I know you got a lot going on. I mean, you're speaking at a lot of conferences, plus you're operating multiple businesses. But let's rewind the clocks. How did you get started in entrepreneurship? Rewind the clocks, like, I don't know, high school, college. I mean, what led you to this journey?
So I went to college in East Carolina, and I graduated in 2001. And while I was in college, I was taking a ton of hours. My husband had a baby that I have raised since he was, an infant. And so this was before we got married. And so I had a baby in college, in a sorority, and I had a part-time job at a bank, and I loved the sales aspect of it. I quickly, even as part-time, went from behind the teller line, knew I wanted to go in the management program, graduated college, got married, and interviewed all in the same 2-week time period, and started at a bank in Charlotte, and started as a teller, then immediately quickly went into customer service. And then within like a year and a half, I was managing a branch, and moved forward had our daughter, who is ironically now just turned 11, and came back from maternity early. And there was, I told them when I had gone from the bottom of the region branch to the number one sales producing branch in the city, and told them, I said, look, I'm driving an hour and 15 minutes one way, and I'm having a baby. If something opens up closer to my house, I need to transfer. And came back to after 8 weeks of maternity, came back early even, and sat at my first managers meeting. There's 2 new people, and as we're going around the table introducing everybody, both of them were within like 5 miles of my house. I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah. So what does every good manager do? I go back to my office. This is like December. I wait till our bonuses come out in March and put in my 2 weeks. So, that's what I did. And my dad was in real estate, been in a couple of years, and he was doing it solo. And I could see like what he was doing. It only been like a year and a half maybe. And I could see what he was doing, and I could see where what I knew how to do, which was sales, would help and would make it grow faster. And this is, of course, got my license. This was in 05, so in 06 I got my license. But I spent the first full year literally as his ISA before that term ever existed. So like I was setting his appointments, I was calling his database, I was door knocking, I was all those things that now we rant and rave about. Why didn't we do this sooner? I did that, so I know what it takes to be an ISA. And within like 3 to 6 months, I was going on the appointments with him, was able to, I was taking all these classes online, like where he's going out and meeting with people. And then when I started going on the appointments, I was able to shave down his listing appointment from like an hour and a half to, I don't think he's ever been in a house under an hour, under an hour, but I can go in and do one in like 32 minutes. And that's talking a lot. Whereas, and I was able to shave some time off of that. Let's get to the point sooner. Don't overgo the sale. So there's just things, being able to immerse myself in training early. And so that's long story short, that's kind of where it all happened.
Yeah, I love it. So then what happened? At what point did you decide to jump into sales on your own and go from branch way up from your father and go full time on your own?
Well, so what we really went into, so he's still with us, and he could pop in any second. He just got to the office, but he's semi-retired now. So he's had a couple back surgeries. He doesn't show clients. He really runs runs our admin, and like when like commission checks and stuff come in, he makes sure all that's taken care of. He runs the P&Ls, like he does all of that. So if you looked at our org chart, he's on there. He's on there as the founder, and he does all of that stuff that I'm not good at. So was it probably about a year into my getting my license where we did this like switch. I'd go on appointments. I'd come back with paperwork. This is before we had like dot loop and stuff. And I'd come back and there'd be dates missing and initials not done and I's not dotted, T's not crossed, and it became, all right. He became the admin because he's like, why is, because I'd have to go back or meet the client again to get this stuff signed. So he became the admin, making sure that there's stickies and highlights or whatever needed to be on there. And then the second we could get digital signatures, we did that. So we've been long time. We've had dot loop now almost 6, or whatever they started. We've had them that long. And so he became more of the admin side. Like that's his wheelhouse. He's a high C. He has a high D, but he's a high C too. Whereas you do not ever want me to do your paperwork. If I had to log into dot loop and send something, it might crash. So yeah, so that it's a year. It's about a year. Yeah.
Awesome. So, we're in an industry where you have a massive failure rate. You have 90% of agents that failed in the first 3 years, 80% year-over-year turnover rate. What were some of those things that after your year when you did transition into selling full-time that you did to ensure that you didn't become a statistic and leave the business?
Well, I'm not going to lie. That 2008, 9, 10, they were all challenging. But I think that's the years that I learned the most, that if you stick with it, so my son, my youngest is just turned 8 in December, and So when I was pregnant with him, '07, all of '07, I was sick. So there was a lot of '07 that still did a lot. I'd go on an appointment, leave, and that'd be the rest of it. That'd be my day. But we made sure that we were always lead generating. I would tell, I tell new agents all the time, the one thing you can never stop doing is lead generation. It doesn't, and I don't care what you call it, because I don't love the word lead. Like, we use the word opportunity. My guys know, like, every single person that we come in contact with is an opportunity, whether they're looking to buy, sell, or invest, or know somebody looking to get into real estate right now. That doesn't matter. It's like when you buy a white car and you drive off the lot and every other car is white. If you're having those conversations about real estate, everyone knows Lisa sells real estate, but nobody hates to know it. And if somebody asks, hey, who do you know that sells real estate? Hopefully they remember my name. And, I never want to be salesy, never want to be pushy. But I just want people to remember that we sell real estate, and we want to encourage other people who want to get into this fun profession, that we're having a good time and kicking butt, and, come have some fun with us.
Yeah, love it. So what does the team structure look like today?
It's funny, I'm like looking at random org charts that we've had over the last couple of years. So we don't love titles either around here. If you had to give me a real title, it would be COO, Chief Opportunity Officer. And because I'm out speaking and I'm out teaching, I'm now a MAPS coach. And just the big vision. I'm a visionary, and the big meetings, or bridging people together. I'm a big connector. That's what there's me and the founder at the top, and then I've got a director of operations who, I guess if you had to give her a title-ish, would be like, she's an integrator. She makes sure that she's the filter, and she tells me no. A lot of times people ask her what her main job is, and she says, well, I hold the back of Lisa's cape so she doesn't fly off the building. Which is true, because I will jump in full force. I can fall in love easily, and so yeah, she's the filter to say, all right, she likes to tell me all the time, she's like, I'm your devil's advocate. This is why we shouldn't do that, or we have those conversations. Most of the time she's right. There's very few times she's not, and then so we have a director of lead generation, if you had to give her a name. And so, Lauren's job is literally, as all of our opportunities come in our database, or sign calls, or FSBOs, or expires, or referrals, or whatever it is, whether it's door knocking or whatever, anything that has to do with lead generation and sales, that she's in charge of. And she literally sits inside of our database all day long and watches. She's got 3 inside salespeople that work for her, and they're calling all day long. If you've got a database of like 26,000 people, you have to have people constantly nurturing, sending text messages, sending emails, calling, whatever, just checking in. And because most real estate agents and salespeople in general, even the great ones, will call once or twice and never follow up. And there's nothing worse than generating an opportunity that you've paid for, whether it's time or effort or money, in any case, and then not following up on it. So that's her job. I have a director of admin who's in charge of like transactions and closings, and she's got someone who does full-time listing manager. In Charlotte, we have a full-time listing agent, myself. I do still go on probably 1 or 2 listings appointments a week. I get a ton of referrals. Some of them need, and Andrew always goes, but the 2 of us go together. And so he doesn't have a South Carolina license yet, and we're on the line, so we do get a lot of South Carolina leads. And then we've got 2 full-time buyers agents, a marketing person, another buyers. She does both buyers and sellers. She's got a huge long-time sphere. She's been in business 18 years. And then we've got a showing agent who goes on listing appointments so she can see the property for when we get signed calls. She goes on buyer appointments so she can show the buyers around. And that's Charlotte. And then we've got an assistant, and then there's my dad. We've got somebody who's a part of the team that does construction and repairs. And then, let's see. We've got an agent in Syracuse, New York. We've got an agent in Dallas. We got an agent in Birmingham. And we've got a division in Chicago and Pensacola.
Awesome. So when you have these different divisions, I know that it's kind of the new next thing is these expansion teams. It's like, hey, we've proven this model here. We can take it to these different states and cities. Do they use all your admin and your support at your home office now? So essentially that's all? Okay. Perfect.
I mean, Syracuse is the one caveat of that because her market is so different and the laws are so different in New York. She does more on her own as far as admin goes. She uses all of our systems and models and she has them there for backup and support. But because her laws are a little bit different, she tends to have to do a little bit more of the closing piece herself or with somebody in the office there that's would be an assistant that's licensed there. But other than Rhonda, who is just amazing, everybody uses the entire system that we have.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have done a brilliant job at really just kind of setting up your different compartments or the assembly line, if you will, so everybody becomes a master really at their one thing that they're doing.
Yes.
What were some of your challenges? Because I know it's not easy to build a team like that, right? You got to inspect what you expect. It takes a lot to do that. Very few people are successful at doing it. What were some of those challenges when you guys were building it that you had to overcome?
Well, I would say this. So, and you would be exactly this. Like you and I can guarantee we have the same personality. And like we go, and go, and don't rest. And people that we're in business with, we're going to push as hard as we want to be pushed. And sometimes that's for people that don't have our personality, they can't move that fast. And I'm going to aggravate the crap out of anybody who is slow, unfortunately, or fortunately. But I can't want it more than they want it. So there's been instances where I can lead generate in my sleep, obviously. So, we get so many opportunities that come in and, I expect when they come in that they're going to be contacted right away. Now, the system can do some of that for us. The system can send a text message and they can send an email, but it can't make a phone call. And if we've got somebody's phone number and we're not calling them back fast enough, well, I can guarantee you another agent's going to call them back. So, when we miss out, that's aggravating. You're paying for these, opportunities to, So I would say not being in business with people that move as fast as I do. That's numero uno. That has been a big challenge for us to make sure that I'm not going to push harder than they want to be pushed. And so when we start these expansion locations, we need at least 2 agents. We've learned that, people need to be able to go on vacation. They need to, if their kid gets sick, they need to have a backup who can go on the appointment and not have to cancel. And not that we've had that happen, just we've realized because we can lead generate so well that we need at least 2 people and that they can be a support system for each other. Hey, I'm going to go on this appointment. Can you do this one? I'm going to go here. Can you do that? I'm going to hold this open house. Can you door knock over here? And when there's at least 2 of them, they can do that. So that would be one thing. And then just making sure that when you're getting into business with somebody, they're all in. That's been a huge one for us, is making sure, they're going to follow the system. They're going to follow the model. They're going, and that goes back to, are we a good fit? Do you agree with because our culture is going to be different from the next team. Like there's 2, 3, 4 teams, on the other side of this wall and that wall and that wall. And all of us have great teams, but they're all have a different culture. And there's no right or wrong. Unless you're doing things that are shady, there's no right or wrong. So, you got to be on the team that's the right culture fit for you. And so, there's been instances where people, wanted to be on the team and then realized it probably wasn't, we do things a lot faster, a lot more intense. Our expectations are going to, are probably higher than some other people. And we've been in business with some of the wrong people before.
Yep. Love it. So
qualifying questions now.
So I know you're somebody that's very tech savvy. You're great with systems. You speak at Inman and on big stages about that. How have you incorporated technology into your business, and what are some of your favorite pieces that you guys are incorporating today that are allowing you to be so successful?
Well, I would say this. So I'm not a natural systems person, and knowing that, I've had to have the best systems out there for me. The best CRM in the world is the one that you're going to use, and the one that fits your needs and fits your team and fits from start to finish. So I've beta tested just about everything. I've done a demo, I've met most of the CEOs, and I've got really great relationships with all of them. And the one that we work with happens to be Curator. It doesn't hurt that Chris Smith is one of my dearest, best friends in the whole industry and in the world, in fact. It works for us. It's the right system for us. It's still, to my knowledge, the only system that's expandable. Like, I can open up our Follow-Up Boss account inside of Curator, and all of my expansion teams are in there. There's 27,000 leads in there, and I can see every single one of them every single morning when I open it up. And to my knowledge, there's not another system right now that does that. And, I've got them compartmentalized for Dallas and for Charlotte and for this and for that. And they've got tags, and they've got all different action plans. And they, if a lead comes in off a sign, they immediately get a text message from us that says, "Thanks for inquiring on our house at 123 Main Street. When's the best time for us to call you right back? Or are you still in front of the house?" Whatever it is, we have those systems. We use text writers now. We've got, inside of Curator is Happy Grasshopper emails. We've been with Happy Grasshopper and Dan for, 5 years or so. One of the other systems I've already told you was Loop. We've worked with Allison and the Allisons for years. And that's another thing. For me, I have to be, if I'm going to work with a system, I have to love the owner.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything we use that I don't know the person that's ultimately responsible for the product. I know Alex and Austin and Chris and Dan. We use Better Voicemail. So those are the systems that we use on a daily basis. I think what else? I think somebody asked me last night what the top apps on my phone were, and I just went back and looked and was going to turn everything, get everything off, and it's Facebook groups, text, email, and my Curator app. And that's basically all I use. And I could operate my entire business from my phone if I had to. I'm working on some things this year. I've been working with a guy out. Well, I'm not going to give too much away, but we're working on an app for real estate. It's the things that I've been talking about that I've done in our business, and taking it and making it where I don't ever have to get on the computer except to do a Skype. And I guess I could do it on my phone.
Yep, love it. So, okay, so now today you're a MAPS coach, and one thing that I love about MAPS is we see so many coaches that were failed agents or have never been in this space, operating from a place of theory. But MAPS, there's very strict requirements. You cannot be a top producer. You have to be a top producer to get into MAPS and do that. So it says a lot, about that. What enticed you to get into coaching, and how did you transition into that space?
Well, so I've long, so I've been teaching and speaking 5-6 years now, and I've long thought about the coaching piece, and it never really fit into my schedule before. And then this past year, so I sit in Gary Keller's top mastermind at Keller Williams, and he was talking about one of the new requirements in the coming years is going to be that we need to be MAPS coaches. And one thing that he said that I've heard before, but it hit me again, was typically coaches, when they're coaching, get more out of coaching than the coachee does. And I can honestly say that's true. Like, sometimes I tell my coaching clients, I'm like, did you get more out of today than I did? And they're always like, oh yeah. But and I write things down, and I send things to my team, and we're implementing different things. And they have a conversation. We're having a conversation where I'm asking. I've learned to ask really good questions, and I don't. And making sure, always my thing's always been like coming from contribution, but now it's more, okay, step back. Why did they really do that? Or, maybe there was another reason that happened, or, and asking better questions helps you to become a better leader. And I honestly feel like I'm a much better leader today than when I started, than before when I started coaching. And, I've got coaching clients that did 5 million last year, and I've got one that did 100. And our conversations are similar, yet the one down here, the one that did 5 million last year, and she'd never done more than 2 deals a month. She closed 7 in December and will close 9 in January. And we just started coaching in September. So like she's already done, almost in those couple of months more than she did the year prior. And that's so rewarding that we got a few key things. Before we started coaching, she didn't have a database. And I was like, because my question was, what's your CRM? She's like, oh, we don't have one. All right, we're going to hang up now. You're going to go research CRMs, look at this one, and this one, and our next call, you're going to tell me what your CRM was. And she wasn't offended. I was like, we can't do a lot until we take care of that. Like your people can't be on, and they can't just be in a 3-ring back. Not that they were, but we made the decision. We're going. The first thing we were doing, first things first, we were getting a database, and she's gotten everybody in it, and she actually went with follow-up ball, so it was perfect. Since I can definitely coach on that, and she's got her people in there, and she's got them tagged, and she's got them on action plans, and she's making her calls, and now she's doing Mojo, and she's setting, she's got strict goals of what she's doing, weekly. She's got a listing goal, she's got a buyer goal, and she's crushing it. And it was just getting those tiny little things tweaked and focused on the activities instead of the results. And it's been a huge difference. Whereas one of my other coaching clients did 100 million last year, and his goal is to do 120 this year. He just came over to KW a couple months prior. And, we're just working on systems. I think even just implementing some of the systems that he already has and tweaking them a little bit, he could probably do 150 this year. I think his goal is 125, but still waiting on his 411 to verify that number. But I think if we tweak some of the systems, and he's got an accountability piece because he doesn't have one. He's never had like the accountability piece, and that's going to be huge for his teammates. They're kind of just like, and they don't necessarily have enough plans in place. So I think it's going to be huge, and he's going to go from 100 to 150.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
Crazy. So yeah, you're coaching, you're speaking, you talk to a lot of agents, and also, of course, you're a team leader, and you have a team. What are some of the biggest commonalities, maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you see agents not doing that you feel like is really causing them to fail? That's just having such a massive negative impact on their business.
Well, since it has to go back to lead gen. Like I said, I'm in Gary's mastermind, and the one thing. It never fails. He walks into our mastermind every single time, and he goes to his Elmo, so the overhead projector thing, and he draws the triangle. And I've got a big one here, which I don't know that you can see it, but it's the leads, listings, leverage. It's just the triangle every single time. Like the bottom of mine, it's pink now, and it says we've got a 4th though. It's called love, just obviously with love. So if you don't have leads, you can't get listings, you can't get leverage, and you can't grow. So it's the I'm too busy, or I've got to put out fires. If agents would honestly walk into their office every single morning, whether it's 9 to 11 or 8 to 10 or whatever, 2 hours every single morning, other than using their phone to make their calls, turn off Facebook, turn off email, turn off whatever, and not see any of those fires, so to speak, and completely focus on lead gen, they'll have more business than they know what to do with. Then you can leverage and hire somebody to take care of those fires, so you're not constantly doing it. I mean, there's no, and that took a lot for me. I was a control freak, and if an agent called me and we had a problem on an inspection, or if an agent called me and we had a problem on, or if the attorney called and they needed this, it's so much easier for me to just forward and send it because I know it in my head. I've had to train myself to forward that to Sherry, my transaction coordinator, forward that to Carrie, our listing manager, to make sure that they've got it taken care of. And then because when you do that, you do a couple of things. You train the cross agent, you train the attorney, you train the lender that they need to go to those people too. If you done your job and introduced them, then they know to go to them. And then when the second request comes in, it's automatically going to go to the people who can get that stuff done. I'm in my car or at an appointment, or I'm speaking or teaching or doing this, and I get 3 or 4 emails that come in, and if they would have sent it to them, they would already have their answer. And so just those things can wait till 11 o'clock. The world begins at 11:01. There is no reason to ever respond to those things. I mean, unless your client's house is burning down and they need to call you, that's one thing. But there's really nothing else that the inspector or whoever doesn't need to get in touch with the listing manager or the transaction coordinator, because they've got the better answers for them. I can promise you that. That's their one thing. They're working on closings and they're working on listings, and I can promise you I don't have it. And I usually have to transfer them to them anyway. So if I get an email now, I immediately forward. Or if I get a text message, I copy or I screenshot it and send it an email to them and let them take care of it, because they're going to do it better than I am anyway.
Yep, love it. So, I get this question a lot in the podcast or on my podcast with my coaching clients, which is a question that I can't answer because I'm not, a successful woman entrepreneur. So you have kids. Right? Like how do you balance this? Because I have so many women that listen to the show that reach out and be like, hey, I want to go out there and work and I want to create this successful business, but I always have this internal guilt that I'm not also being that mom. I mean, what have you found? Is there a balance, or how do you make sure that you're not letting one of those balls drop?
Well, so I have 3 kids. My oldest will be 17 next month. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I have a 8-year-old son. All 3 of them have their own, I would say, life, so to speak. Like, so much. Trey's my oldest. He does. He plays high school baseball. He's got a new girlfriend. He does travel baseball, so like showcase stuff. We'll be looking at colleges really shortly. So if anybody's got connections to college, want to give him a scholarship, it'd be great. No, I'm just kidding. But not really. So like he's got his own thing. We go to weekend baseball tournaments all the time. My middle daughter, she dances competitively. And she's already had, we're only, 2 weeks in, and she's already had one showcase dance. She's got one next weekend. She's got, so she does competitive dance. And then Peyton, he's still not positive what he wants to do. He loves basketball. He loves baseball. He wants to try football. So, we'll see. He's my wild card. But they all have stuff. Like he's got practice 2 nights a week. Caroline has practice 4 nights a week. Trey's got practice 2 mornings a week. Thank God he has a driver's license now. He's got practice 3 nights a week. So, we've got all that. And I'm there for most of it. Sometimes, like, my husband and I have to, like, divide and conquer because 2 of them have something at the same time. But we're there for, I would say 90% of it. And, it's just one of the things that I had to learn was, when you get in and you do your thing from 9 to 11, you're setting your appointments, you can mandate the rest of your day. There's very few times I'm going to have a 5 o'clock listing appointment and I haven't shown in years. I don't even have MLS key on my phone. I leverage that out because I've got buyer's agents. I've got one that's with me 6 years, and if I need to go see a house personally, like my husband and I were looking at a property last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and he was like, can we go see this house? I'm like he'd send me a listing, and I'm like, we're either going to have to check with Pam, or luckily my dad lives 2.5 miles away and he's got an e-key. I'm like, all right, I said, call Dad, see if he can go show us tonight, or he can send equipment. And he's like, I hate that but that's the only reason, because I typically, I would get calls at the soccer field or at the baseball field on Saturday morning, so-and-so wants to go see 123 Main Street, and I would leave the field to go show. I was like, I can't do that. I won't do that. So you've got to pick what, if you're better buyers, then you gotta draw a line in the sand when you're showing. Or if you are, if you're a listing agent, you have to set your appointments when it's convenient. I take my kids to school every morning. I pick them up from school. 2 of them, not the one that drives, obviously, he drives himself, but my little 2, they go to a charter school. I take them, I drop them at by 7:30 every day. I go straight to the office. And then I pick them up. I leave the office at 2:30 to pick them up at 3:15.
Yeah, awesome. So, I find that good becomes the worst enemy to greatness, right? So many people, on their way to a greatness, they get to this comfort level where it's like, life's good enough. Okay, we could take the foot off the accelerator, probably be okay for the rest of our lives, whatever. What do you do personally to ensure that you're not settling for just good and you're always leveling up and going for greatness?
Yes, I mean complacency is it's bad. I think that's a very negative word in my house. And I wanted to get in shape a couple years ago, and I started going to the gym and watching all these people about this time of month stop coming to the gym. You should not be able to get one of the treadmills or the bike system that I like, and that lasted about 2 weeks. But I read when I read the one thing like that really resonated with me. You've got to develop that pattern or that habit. It's not 21 days. It's really depending on what it is and what your personality is. 50, 66 days, or 50 or 60. It's really closer to that 66 that Jay and Gary talk about. Just keep going, and whether I'm out of town or people now if I'm going to, like in an example, my girlfriend asked, she's like, "You want to share a room?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I said, "How's the gym?" Not that I'm going to be running around Times Square. That's not going to happen. It's probably going to be too cold. But I do plan my travel now around whether it has a gym or if I'm staying with a friend. I've got a friend that I've stayed with in Austin, and the lady now at Lifetime knows me. And I don't go to the gym there, but I do go visit. So there's just those things that you do, and I weightlift now, and I like the PR aspect. Like I squatted 160 the other day, and it was a big deal for me. So always just wanting to be better, and whatever your goal is, when once you achieve it, okay. So then what's the next goal? There's got when you've got your I don't know if I got it on me, but I live my life, and it's not something I've always done. I had a coach last year who drilled it in my head that I need to live by my calendar and my 411. So I literally, I carry it with me, and once I accomplish something, I say pink it out because I use the pink highlighter, but I carry it around with me so I constantly see it, and when I can, cross things out, and then I typically add something else to it. And those are big goals, and what are the actions that it's going to take to get to that big result, and those are the daily things that you do.
Yep. Awesome. So, I see that one thing that a lot of successful people have in common is they kind of have like a daily ritual or a routine that really gets them to operate at their best selves. You talked about your health and hitting the gym. I mean, do you have other things that kind of a part of your daily routine to ensure that you are operating at your best self?
Yeah, so I operate on a miracle morning, and that's what it is. And I was blessed to be in a group a couple of years ago and met the author of Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod. And he told a story, and I cried, and we've become really good friends since then. And I took the 30-day Miracle Morning challenge. Of course, in my opinion, it probably needs to be a 66. People are going to quit it after 30. So I created, starting January 4th, a 66-day challenge on my coaching page, and I think we're at day 12 now, and to start over for the year again. But so every morning I do the 6 savers. I spend time praying. I spend time, looking at my affirmations. I spend time looking at visualizing my goals, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. I do some form of exercise. That's not my gym time. And then I read. Like right now, I'm reading Rocket Fuel, and then let's see what else. What was the other one? Gratitude. Like I've got a journal, and I write things down, or I send gratitude. One of the two. So that's my morning ritual. I've gone to the gym at 5:30, which is hard whenever I've got to get the kids ready. I mean, there's a little bit different. A lot of my guy friends are like, "Why don't you go to the gym at 5:30 or whatever?" Well, because I'm the one at home, like your wife, making sure the kids have lunches, making sure they've got their water bottles, making sure their book bags are done, making sure their permission slips are signed, and you sign the reading log. My kids are still in that everyday signing the reading log thing. making sure their homework's done. I take them to school. So, unless I'm traveling, my husband will take them to school, or my son will. But it's really difficult with their morning if I try to do the gym that early. So I typically go to the gym in the afternoon. My daughter goes to a dance studio where like the other side is the gym. Yep. I gotta be there anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So a couple last questions for you, but before I forget, if we have listeners that want to reach out to you, learn more about you, I don't know if you have coaching spaces available, maybe they want to talk about coaching or come see you speak. What's the best way to learn more about you and to get in touch with you?
I would say, so I've got at least Archer coaching page on Facebook, or you send me a private message. I have unfortunately reached the 5,000 friend limit, so like that's not. You can follow my personal page, but I can get in everything that I do post. 99% of the time is public, so you can always see it. And then our livelovehomes.com website, there's a place to like book me to speak.
Yeah, awesome. So what are your, I know you're somebody that's really into self-development, you're a student in the game, and you're very intelligent. What are some of your top 3 or 4 reads that you're like, hey, if you're in real estate and you're an entrepreneur, you need to read these have had big impacts on your life?
I don't know if you can see my bookcase or not, but let's see. I would say, The Miracle Morning's one. That's my dad. Say hi. Let's see. The One Thing is one. I'm reading Rocket Fuel right now. It's great. Anything Gary Vee wrote, like I've got jab, right hook right there, and the Thank You Economy's over there. MREA, if you're in real estate, you can't. There's about to be an update to it, so you can get better in Real Estate Bible. And just if you're younger, I would say anywhere from 18 to 30, read The Defining Decade. It's really, it's important. Or if you've got kids that are almost that age, it's one of the books that my son's going to be reading this year. I can't believe I have to say that, but yeah. So, I read a ton. I like Audible. I much rather get a book by Audible and listen to it. It's one of the reasons I started running was because I like to listen to audiobooks and podcasts and stuff while I'm running.
Yep, awesome. So, Gary Vee came out with a prediction, I don't know, like a year or two ago that in 15 years, Walmart will be out of business because they haven't kept up with the times to really combat the Amazon model. And then Amazon's like, hey, you're gonna be able to order it, we'll be at your house within 2 hours with drones or, whatever they're doing. So they weren't able to adapt with those times. So, kind of transitioning that into the real estate space with your knowledge, with all the coaching, all the speaking that you do, what are some of those things that you see if agents don't adapt to this now, they're going to become extinct pretty quickly?
It's got to be technology. I had a conversation this morning with some other agents that are at different companies and a mastermind event, and it's, and they're like, they're not answering the phone. I'm like, did you try to text them? Or did you send a message on Facebook? That's not don't be that 16-year-old on prom night. You're not trying to score. That's not what you're going after. Joke's not funny anymore because I have a 16-year-old and he's going to go to prom. But just quit being spammy. Quit trying to be salesy. It's not about that. Have a real relationship with somebody, and you're trying to solve a problem for them. And if you really come from that place of contribution, you can nail it on the head, and they're going to want to work with you. I was telling one of our agents this morning, we were talking about. She's like, they didn't answer. I said, why is it your next text? Your next reach out to them. Or even when they first come in, I said, you just left them a message. Hey, it's Bree with Leveling Up Homes. You called on our sign at 123 Main Street, and you're probably at work right now, so I'm going to send you a follow-up text too. How can we help? And then you send a text that said, hey, I just left your message and realized you're probably at work. You looked at you had driven by our list at 123 Main Street. How can we help you? What questions can I answer? And then she's getting like a 70% response rate from just texting them.
Yeah, awesome.
And I was like, would you rather talk or text? And she's like, oh, text. I was like, exactly. And, most agents don't, even though they would probably like to text better, they're still going to not, I didn't say don't call. I said do both. Because if you then you can find out, oh, I'm not at work. Okay, well then you're almost qualifying them to have a job.
Yeah, love it. So, do you find yourself, because you're speaking, you're coaching, you're also operating a team. Do you find yourself kind of siding with one more than the other that you enjoy more? Where do you see your career going, and where do you see yourself? And I know it's kind of a hard question, but in 5 years or 10 years, where do you see this going for you?
I think somebody in the next couple of years will replace me as far as running the day-to-day, or as far as and that's when I run the day-to-day, so don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. I do our morning call where we talk about what we accomplished the day before, and then what our goal is for today. And typically it's contacts, appointments, pendings, whatever, and then what's our goal for today. Sometimes we add in and this is 8:45 to 9 local for me. Every single morning we have this conversation. All the agents dial in, we chat. If they've got small things that we can talk about, we typically try not to do that. It's always, of course, with Rhonda being in Syracuse, but how's the weather? Oh, well, buried under 9 feet. Okay, great. So it's hard to get off of that, but, we always, she usually dials in early, so the first person on always gets to ask Rhonda what the weather's like. But, we have those conversations. And then, now it's become, because everyone's used to the accountability, it's like, all right, do I really want to call in and say I did nothing yesterday? Or, everybody's got their goals for today, and then, if they don't say that they met up the next day, someone's like, oh, how did this go, or how did that appointment go? And then on Fridays we do a Fail Forward Friday call, where we literally talk about what was our big aha for the week, or what did we fail through and learn from. That we're either not going to do again, or we're going to do differently next time, or we did and we fixed it, or something we learned from that now we can probably crush going forward. So it's a really cool Friday call, and we even have our entire admin team on that day, and we talk about some system stuff, or they did something different as far as making an appointment with an inspector or something, and it works so much better. They're going to do that from now on. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a failure, but it's like, what did you learn this week? Yeah.
Yep. Love it. So, this podcast was really designed to go out there to inspire others, to motivate others, but also, it seems like we're in this information age where it's information overload. And so much information out there is theory, right? People that are, we look at a lot of these coaches and trainers in our industry that have never even done it, So I wanted to create a platform where we went out there and, interviewed the doer, somebody like yourself that's out there doing it big, that it's not theory, it's actual true strategy that you're utilizing in your business today that's having massive success. So with that being said, do you have any last words of maybe inspiration or motivation that you'd like to leave our listeners with so they can go out there and create that amazing life and business like you've been able to create for yourself?
I honestly would say just do it. There's what do you have to lose? Whether you win or you learn, you're moving forward, and you deserve it, but and your family really, your family deserves it, but you deserve it. You deserve the success that comes from actually doing it. And just you've got to remember, whether it's an expansion team getting started, or being a buyer's agent, or being an admin, it takes work. You're not, we're not entitled to anything in this life. We may deserve to be there, but we're definitely not entitled to it. And we've got to have to work for everything that we get in most cases. There's some people that are going to win Powerball, but in most cases you're going to have to work for it. And just knowing that you're willing to put in the work and put in the effort, the results are going to come. And when you do those actions, when you set your big goal, and you back into what you have to do monthly, and you back into what you need to do weekly, and you back into what you have to do daily. When you do those actions on the daily piece, whether, especially in that 9 to 11 time period when you're most focused, when you do those actions and you're doing the right actions day after day after day after day, the results are going to come. They're going to come from doing those things that you're supposed to do. It's like, when you do like an ab challenge, you do 5 sit-ups, and then 10, and then 15, and then 20. At the end of the month, you're doing 150 or 200 or whatever the number is, and your abs look better. You didn't immediately go in and try to do 200 on day one because you might throw up. but you built on it, and that's when the results are going to come. And you're not, if you don't, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And that's what most real estate agents do their entire career, because they do not put lead generation as a focus. And they're like, oh, I've got a deal going, great, let me go run around like a crazy person. Okay, when that closes, what happens? You don't have anything in the pipeline.
Yep.
So you have to do it daily. So that's my advice.
Yep, love it. Very powerful words. So to those of you watching or listening to this right now, information without implementation, you guys, is the start of delusion. Information's not power. It's taking that information, implementing it into your life and your business that creates power in your world. So, you guys heard from an absolute rock star, amazing entrepreneur, somebody that knows what she's talking about. She shared so much just brilliant, amazing information. Make sure that you take something that you learned today, take action on it right now. Don't wait. Go out there, implement, take action, create the life that you know you want and you deserve. And Lisa, this has been a massive honor. I really appreciate taking time out of your busy day to be here, and this has been a great time. I really greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. Have a great day.
All right, you as well. Take care, listeners. We'll talk to you soon.